Trigger warnings.
If you are easily offended, grossed out, or have past traumas, this might not be the podcast for you.
You have been warned. Possible trigger warnings for this episode are strangulation, possible rape, and murder.
Recording in progress.
Record.
Thanks, Zoom lady.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. It's
Coffee time.
all here today.
Yes, it is, where it's freezing cold in the morning and then hot by 3 p.m.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like 59 today is our high, which is like,
Oh,
thank goodness, because I can't handle all the heat with the humidity.
I know. Yesterday was so humid. It was miserable. If I take this hair down, I look like I have a lion's mane. It's so giant.
Amazing.
You might think so, but
We need to talk about our product.
yeah.
I can help with that.
Yes, you can.
Hair product tutorial. But
Yeah, that would be good.
I want to show off this real quick. So
yes, please tell me about it.
on our Instagram already. But
It's so cute. I love it.
yay! And
And
I did a tutorial, but it's only on Patreon.
right. And isn't that yarn that you spun?
This one is
Uh-huh.
it's also woven in here. Not all of it is though.
Yeah.
But I have always picked up bones right on the beach. So like I have this huge collection of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you have random bones and I have many skulls.
I have skulls. I just have like random bones that I picked
Well, you now currently have some animal skulls.
three
I left you some.
on terrarium.
Yes. And speaking of terrariums, we did some tutorials and the one I made is sitting on my desk. And every once in a while, I tell someone it's a real cat skull and they give me this face. What?
Dumbfounded. That are just listening. That's the look of dumbfounded. Like,
Dumbfounded.
also like what's wrong with you?
Speechless. There's really nothing. It's just they're fascinating. I find beauty in
Sorry, I'm moving.
death. There is beauty in death.
There is for sure. And yeah, I'm not going to say any more about that because our future stuff that you've been working on artwork wise is very much both of those.
Both of those.
So yay.
Beauty and death.
Yeah, so I'm drinking the same coffee I was drinking
When?
prior in my last episode
Oh, you know what? So am I.
because I go between. And I'm wearing the same shirt probably. Yes,
Still.
but sweatered. So there's that.
Yes, that is that. So I'm wearing my Spells shirt. And if you don't know what it is, it's a really cool band because Spells rules.
I'll have to look
You can
it up.
check them out on Instagram. And they've got a few cool albums.
Sweet.
Shout out to Ben Roy.
Shout out to Ben Roy. I like the other shirt that you have with the roller skate on it.
Yeah.
That one's cool.
The international skating superstar, roller skating superstar.
Hell yes.
He's never been roller skating ever.
There's yeah.
It's a good joke. It's a good one. Anyways,
Sounds fun.
so we are here today
Tell me.
to talk about true crime.
Yay!
So, question of the day. Can you name an African American serial killer in the United States?
No.
Because the answer is usually a befuddled, confused face and silence.
I can name one, I think.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think I have one,
Oh,
pretty sure.
you want to tell me now or later?
Was it Samuel Little? Am I remembering this wrong? Did
Damn, no, you're not. That's good.
I nail it?
I'm going to talk about, I bring him up in this story a little bit. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, he's going to be a whole nother story for another
it
time.
is highly unusual and highly uncommon.
Yes.
So,
and in the 1980s, it was very rare to have one because, looking over the decades since 1900, approximately 1 in 5 serial killers are African American. Serial killers are always portrayed in movies and television as white Caucasian males between the ages of 24 and 34.
because they normally are. Pissed off white
Well, right. Yeah. But they're usually not African American males over the age of 35.
Holy hell, yeah.
So the person I'm going to talk about today, he was not the first known African American serial killer because that title is given to dun dun dun. You already guessed it, Samuel Little. And I am going to talk about him in the future because his story's crazy.
Sweet. His story is buck wild.
Yeah. So, but this story's pretty interesting and not talked about much. So today I bring you the story of the Grim Sleeper.
Okay, so like in my head, I see like a guy sleeping with just a grim face.
So Mr. Lonnie David Franklin Jr. was the Grim Sleeper. Now, I'm sure you all are thinking, well, why would he get that name? Was he killing people in their sleep? No, he wasn't. They were very much awake and alive. But there was a period during his operation that he had no known activity that was linked to him. So he was dormant for like 14 years.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time.
Yes, it is. So we are going to talk about Lonnie David Franklin Jr. And by all accounts, he was a seemingly nice neighbor, always willing to help change a tire or carry groceries for the elderly neighbor. And he was a normal married man. His wife was named Sylvia. They had 2 children and they lived in Los Angeles, California. Franklin was born in South Central LA on August 30th, 1952. And then in 1974, at the age of 21, I don't know why he waited like 3 years before he enlisted, but he went into the Army.
Maybe he got in some trouble before that.
Not much is known about his life before that. So I'm going to tell you a little backstory about him in the Army. So maybe you kind of get an idea of the just awfulness of Mr. Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
He was stationed in Stuttgart, Germany, and he was with 2 other soldiers one night in the town, and he and the gentleman, I shouldn't call them gentlemen, but the 2 soldiers, they kidnapped a 17-year-old girl and took her to a remote location and violently raped her. The men also took photos of the incident and of the victim. But when they were done, they decided to drive her home. Now, they left her alive. They were like, here you go. go home. We've
Yeah.
just done all this nasty shit to you,
Just be a
but you're
witness.
free to go. So the young girl, being smart, she like feigned interest and asked for their phone number. So Franklin gave her his phone number.
Shut up. What
Dead serious. Not too bright. So she got the phone number, went directly to the police, and they set up a sting operation. So she called him, they went and met, and the meeting happened. They caught him and arrested him. Now, after this arrest, he was charged with kidnapping and rape. He was given 40 months in prison.
That's it.
That's it. 40 months. But he only served less than a year of his sentence.
Okay. God.
But the Army gave him, and here's the thing, the Army gave him a general discharge, not even dishonorably.
That is bullshit.
Yeah. So it makes no sense, but my pay grade, I don't understand the military, how they decide to do things, but they went in and let him go back to the States.
Now, when was this? This was in.
He was in the Army in 1974.
Okay, so for the time period, I'm not surprised, honestly.
True, but still.
The value of women
Horrible.
is, it's still pretty bad, but like the value of women back then, they didn't give a shit. I'm surprised he even got what he did.
Yeah, I mean the judicial system.
Well, in another,
don't get me started on the judicial system. Yeah, but before we digress too much, Mr. Franklin found himself back in the States and out of the Army. He decided to become a sanitation worker. So he went back to LA County, became a garbage man, and it actually worked in his benefit because due to his job, he learned all about the streets and back alleys and roads of the area that he was picking up garbage for. So his first known killing was in 1985. He shot Deborah Jackson, a 29-year-old African-American female, 3 times in the chest with a .25 caliber handgun. Cops actually thought her death was a drug hit until more and more women were found in alleys.
Oh boy.
But if you recall, during the 80s and 90s in South Central LA, it was just filled with crime and crack cocaine, drugs, and
lots of gang activity. Like, I mean, there's still a ton of gang activity, but like back then, things were different back then. Ooh, Lord.
So different. And so because of the drugs and the crime, the law enforcement was inundated with lots of murders centered around those that were using drugs and alcohol. And it just seemed to be the type of victim that Franklin went for.
Right.
So after Deborah Jackson was found murdered, LA cops found 35-year-old Henrietta Wright in 1986, whose naked body was found under a mattress, shot in the torso twice, and gagged with a cloth with a .25 caliber handgun.
Yikes.
Yeah. Then in 1987, he murdered 3 more. To start was 23-year-old Barbara Ware, shot to death, partially clothed and left in a dark alleyway. 1987, there was 3 more females shot naked, partially clothed, dropped in the same area, alleys, and known to be drug addicts or sex workers.
Which, like, they just write those off, basically, which really fucking sucks.
Right. And the homicide detective for LAPD at the time said that it was signs of a serial killer operating in South LA, but the LAPD kept it hush hush and didn't tell the public.
That's what LAPD does. Calling you out right now, LAPD. Y'all suck. Always have. Probably still do. Just saying.
Yeah.
I have really strong feelings.
Which is, yes, Heidi has strong feelings. Just FYI. She's a woman of many strong feelings.
Yes.
So due to the type of victim that Franklin seemed to look out for, the deaths drew very little media attention as well. At first, a lot of the women couldn't be identified and were listed as Jane Does. And an interesting fact of the time, those murders of sex workers who exchanged sex for murder had the slang term strawberry. So they dubbed them for a while the strawberry murders. I know, it's weird slang.
The hell?
If you were a sex worker exchanging sex for drugs, you were a strawberry.
That's dumb.
I mean, we're talking the 80s here. So there's, it's not the slang of these days.
Yeah, that's a weird term.
Obvi.
I've never heard that before.
I didn't either until I started researching this and found it to be very interesting. So in the middle of these three murders, Franklin had one male victim, a 36-year-old African-American man named Thomas Steele. He was found shot in an alleyway near the other drop sites. Now, all these drop sites of all of his murders were in the very similar location, like blocks radius. Like they weren't like strewn about in the county of LA. And if you don't know anything about California, LA County is huge, like
huge,
miles and miles and miles. So the fact that all of these murders were like dropped in the alleys, like right in this central small location was interesting to me. And the fact that they couldn't find any evidence or I just feel like it was because of the type of victims. They didn't pour too much into it because they were dealing with a lot of other stuff and they were thinking it was just drug related, gang related, and not actual serial killer, except for that one detective that was like, guys, I think we have a serial killer.
That's the thing that they are known for, that specific department is known for. They are extremely discriminatory. And throughout their history, this has been a thing. They don't care about people in those areas. So, yeah, not surprised that they didn't want to help.
Yeah, it sucks. So obviously Steele was not Franklin's type, but somehow got mixed up with it somehow, and he paid dearly with his life. Then moving on to we're still in 1987. So like they started in 85, 86, 87. He killed 26-year-old Bernita Sparks, and she was found dead with her shirt undone, dumped in a garbage can in an alley. And near the end of 1987, another 26-year-old female, Mary Lowe, was found dead with her pants undone, again, found in the alley. 1988, Franklin shot twice in the chest and killed 22-year-old. I really hope I say this okay. I probably am not, but it's Lachrica Jefferson, Lachrica, like the end of Erica with lock in the front. Lachrica.
ACH.
Maybe it's Lachrica. I don't know.
Might be a lot.
But Miss Jefferson sadly died. But this was a weird thing. They found a napkin over her face with a note written AIDS.
Oh, jeez.
So I don't know if he was like trying to throw off the law enforcement by doing something different with this one.
Yeah.
But I mean, she was also found in an alley. 18-year-old Alicia Alexander ended up being Franklin's last known murder before his 14-year hiatus from killing, was found shot to death and left naked in an alley.
Jesus.
It's unclear as to why Franklin would stop killing, but my theory is that he actually didn't stop killing. I just think that maybe he changed his way of operating and those possible murders were never linked to him. It's just rare for a serial killer to go so many years without killing.
Right. And it really does bring up, like, do we know that he was still living in the area during that time? That he wasn't killing?
Yeah, he's never moved away from LA County except for when he was in the Army.
Interesting.
Yeah, he stayed in South Central.
Really weird.
Yeah, it is strange. I mean, I guess maybe he was just being that friendly neighbor.
Yeah.
Helping change tires with his wife and kids. Ugh, creep. So,
Thanks.
but due to this 14-year not killing anybody thing, that's when he was dubbed the Grim Sleeper. But in 2002, he decided to get frisky again. He thought it was a good time to start killing again, and he strangled and beat to death 15-year-old female named Princess Beth Mew. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I apologize, but she was found in shrubs. So he had a new dump site, I guess. Yeah. So, and then a year later in 2003, he murdered 35-year-old Valerie McCorvey by strangulation. So he stopped killing, supposedly, and then instead of shooting these victims, he strangled them.
So he's completely.
So he changed a little bit of his modus operandi. But then in 2007, the last confirmed death was 25-year-old Genesia Peters, and he shot her in the back. So he went back to shooting. He put her inside a trash bag and threw her in a garbage can. All these make me sad because that's just not a way to go. This is clearly, it shows his thought process on these females and that he just thought that they were garbage.
That's disgusting.
And sad. So it took 3 years later to arrest him. So they arrested him in 2010 due to DNA evidence that was traced back to him.
I was gonna say, like, did he not realize that DNA has come a long way since the 80s? Because
I don't know if he was a smart man or not, because a lot of this stuff doesn't seem smart.
Yeah, he's that intelligent from the get-go.
Right. Now there were reports saying that his son was linked to some crime, and that's how they got some evidence, some DNA.
Oh crap.
That linked to him.
Right.
So then there was a cop that decided to figure out where he liked to eat, and I guess he liked to eat at a pizza joint. Got his DNA evidence from a piece of pizza from his saliva.
Yeah.
And that's how they were able to file the charges and arrest him.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So now they've arrested him. He's in jail. and they did a search of his home. And during this search, there were more than 1,000 photographs taken of women.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he had in storage that like over 1,000 photos, like Polaroid photos of women. And the images showed mostly women and teenagers, all African-American females and often nude. So about 180 of these images were released to the public because they had hopes of someone identifying these females because they didn't know the identities of these females. Now, some of them were his victims,
Right.
but a lot of them were identified as missing women. There were 2 women that were identified as missing women, but their bodies have never been recovered.
Shit.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Over 1,000 photos, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Different women in every photo, or do we know?
Some were multiple, I believe.
Okay.
I don't think it was
Either
1,000
way-
women, but
Okay, that's a lot. Even if it was several photos of the same.
and I mean, he could have like gone and had prostitutes and taken photos of them.
Right? He could
Like, we
be-
don't know that part of his life. So there could have been women that were never a victim of his and just sex workers. And then he let them go.
one that's
But these 2 females that were identified, but the bodies never found, that's kind of sad.
Right.
You know, they probably ended up in the landfill, unfortunately, and can never be found. So unfortunately, there's no closure to those families. Franklin, 67 years old now, it took 6 years for his case to be finalized because of all of the years of evidence, because we're talking a couple decades. So he finally went to trial in 2016 and was convicted of only killing 9 women and 1 teenage girl. So he has 10 convictions from 1985 to 2007.
I was living in LA in the 2000s.
Yeah, you were.
I never heard a damn thing about this.
Yeah. Well, he was not, however, convicted of the male's murder, Thomas Steele, because of lack of evidence and DNA. But I'm pretty sure they used the same 25 caliber handgun because he was shot. But
Yeah.
and during the penalty phase of his trial, the prosecutors connected him to several additional slayings. Detectives believe he may have killed at least 25 women, but only convicted of 10. He was sentenced to death row in San Quentin. And during his pretrial and before his conviction, his lovely wife, Sylvia, decided that she was going to stay loyal and devoutly Christian.
Why?
She wanted to be a devoutly Christian wife, and she often visited him in jail. But once he was convicted, she and the family disappeared from public.
Good.
Yeah. I was like, what? You know, living with that man for all those years, you knew something.
You know, ignorance is bliss, y'all.
I know.
Like,
But
I totally see how that could happen, but like once he's caught, don't stand by him. I'm sorry.
no.
If
No.
he's being accused this day and age of something like that, the only way that they're even charging him is because they had enough evidence to put him away. Know that.
Right. Right.
Go on.
He was a sick man. She had to know he was a sick man. But she decided she wanted nothing to do with him anymore, and rightfully so. She needed to move on with her life. But apparently her son wasn't doing so great. I don't know much about his kids, but it sounded like he was living a life of crime there for a while too, which is why they got the link to DNA or whatever.
Yeah.
Another thing, he didn't make it to his execution. Did I say he was did I say he was put on death row?
Yes.
Yeah. So we had digressed too much. I forgot. I'm sorry, peeps. I'm sorry. So he was convicted and put on death row in San Quentin, which, if you know anything about San Quentin,
I do.
It's where all the shitbags go.
All the death row, including
yeah, it's not a safe place. I would not want to be a guard there.
You can totally like just drive right by it and walk right by it, and you can actually, okay, sorry, I'm going to digress big time right now. San Quentin, where it's positioned, it's on the bay. So like you can look out into the bay. It's beautiful, beautiful piece of property. Behind it, close to like the San Rafael to Oakland Bridge.
Right.
There's one road that goes back behind San Quentin, and you can buy gorgeous multi-million-dollar homes back there at a decent price because of their location.
Because it's at San Quentin.
Literally right by the prison, next to outside. It's very disturbing.
Yeah.
All right, carry on.
So he didn't make it to his execution because on March 28th, I don't know if that rings a bell, 2020, a year before your last guy.
Holy hell.
Yeah, March 28th.
Yeah, wasn't that, I think that was the same date. Was it?
When we were talking about Mr. Duncan, I believe it was March 28th, 2021.
Scrolling down, keep going.
So anyways, he was found dead in his cell. No signs of trauma, just apparent natural causes. I'm sure there's something hinky in there, but so prison officials, they came out saying Franklin was found unresponsive in his single cell on March 28th at about 7:20 p.m. Medical assistance was rendered and an ambulance was summoned. Franklin was pronounced deceased at 7:43 p.m. His cause of death is pending the results of an autopsy. However, there were no signs of trauma, prison officials said in a statement. He was 67 at the time of his death.
So I just looked it up and it was exactly a year. It's the same day. That's so weird, dude.
I know. It's so strange. It gives me chills. Ooh.
I have a sweater on.
It's warm here, but I could use a sweater right now.
Chilly here.
all them chills.
Yeah, we've been having to burn the wood stove. So.
Oh, nice. So that's the messed up story of the Grim Sleeper.
It's so weird. The 14-year gap is so unusual.
Yeah, I have many questions about that because, you know, during their discovery and the investigation, they found all those photos and they found that they could link him to so many more slayings, but they didn't.
Right.
So I don't know what happened there, but I'm pretty sure that man didn't stop killing.
I doubt it. It's probably just people that weren't being missed. You know what I mean? Like,
that's why he chose who he chose.
Right. And he chose a lot of sex workers.
So I guess he was smart for that.
He's smart for that, but like, what an idiot. He just like gave the girl who he raped and kidnapped his phone number.
Yeah, that part was not bright. But he was also known as the Southside Slayer and the 25 Auto Killer.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any of that. So that's
yeah. So, welcome to the messed up life of Mr. Lonnie David Franklin Jr.
Lonnie David Franklin.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah.
Another one with 3 first names.
Yes. So there's like this bike path, walk path area right outside of San Quentin.
Uh-huh.
And it's like this big marsh area because, you know, it's right on the bay there. I used to walk dogs down there all the time, like 5 days a week. And
Nice.
like staring at San Quentin just across. Not
Very strange, Heidi. Very strange.
It's weird, but like it's right there.
I know. We have where I'm at, there's a lot of hidden like prisons. You just, oh, we're passing a prison. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's nice homes down the road.
Yeah. Well,
they're just kind of like dropped in the middle of towns.
Yep. It's crazy. Like driving, you'll just be driving and like drive by one that's literally in the middle of like a city. And it's the structures are so foreboding, like, ugh.
Yeah.
And all the razor wire and everything. It's just wild to me that they would put it so close to everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got to put them somewhere. So I guess.
Yeah.
That was intense. And it just, but I don't know why it maybe, I think because we were just talking about prison placement, I just thought of something that happened when we were teenagers at Red's. And it wasn't something that happened at Red's, really. I remember we used to sell these really good cinnamon rolls.
There's when I could eat cinnamon rolls,
Right?
they were amazing. I know, before our bodies failed us.
But like Homie's Bakery, do you remember?
Yeah, I remember.
Homie's Bakery, he was a DJ from one of the local radio stations for a really long time, but he named We're so good that news stations came to our coffee shop to like interview us. Okay.
Yep.
So we were like on TV and in the newspaper.
Yeah.
So after all of that happened, I'm like 16, maybe 16 at the time.
Was I traveling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get a letter in the mail addressed to my name from Taft Prison.
Were you getting a pen pal?
I was like, what? So I opened it and this guy was like, saw you in the paper, blah, blah, blah. You're really beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Wondering if, you know, maybe you could write. And I was like, trash. No, I don't want to be a pen pal. Like,
No.
what are you doing writing to a 16-year-old girl?
They don't care.
Creeper. Ugh. Sorry, but not sorry.
Heidi doesn't know the magnitude of her gorgeousness. So she's always been followed by men, creepy or otherwise.
I even had a female stalker once.
Yeah.
At the same coffee shop. This is why, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyways, we really digressed on that one, but we hope that you loved our story.
Yes, that was intense. And he's an idiot.
I'm gonna have to shake it off for a while. I've been working on that one for a couple weeks.
I might need to like go work out or something to like get that out of the system.
I gotta work tonight.
That doesn't sound fun. But anyway.
Anyways, where can we find us?
I'm going to tell everybody where they can find us.
Yes, you are.
Website at www.crimecoffeeandcrafts.com. You can email us. Please email us your stories or like recommendations on what you want us to cover at crimecoffeeandcrafts@gmail.com. You can find us on Patreon. Pretty please.
Oh yeah, we got to remember that.
Donate $1. You can do one-off donations. It doesn't matter. We are paying for this podcast ourselves. So like,
Yes.
you all want to help us out, it'd be cool as hell. And there's merch that's exclusive to Patreon donors also. And that's patreon.com/crime coffee and crafts pod. I think, pretty sure that's it. But you can also
Or
get Instagram, crime coffee and crafts pod, and use our link in our bio to get to our Patreon. And you can find us anywhere, literally anywhere you can find podcasts, and you can get to us on YouTube and see us. You can see us while we talk. Which is
See our silly faces.
so awkward.
But we don't care. We're giving you quality content.
That's just me being a super dork, which, I mean, yeah, I'm just a dork. I make lots of choices, deal with it.
She's a dork. I'm a nerd.
We love each other.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk to y'all later. Ta-ta.
For now.